I'm Ezra Levant. It's May 3rd, and you're watching Battleground. Well, how much fun is this? We have been doing this all week, every weekday at 12 noon till 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We're having a live chit-chat on the Google Super Chat, it's called, on YouTube. I thought it was fun. I just saw it the other day, and it's a live chat, and I interact with the comments on the side of the screen. And Super Chat is a way for folks to pin their comment to the top. And it's a way for us to make a few bucks to pay the bills around here, because unlike the CBC, we take zero government funding, and unlike corporate media, we don't have a big backer. We're viewer supported. And it's a way for me to interrupt my day, perk up a bit, and tackle some news stories that I don't cover in my 8 p.m. Eastern paywalled show. So, we've got some fun stories today, including the forever First Lady, Michelle Obama. That's what she's calling herself, the forever First Lady. We have some exciting news from Reuters on polling stats. I see that for the first time ever, Donald Trump is at 50% in the daily tracking polls in Rasmussen. They do a daily tracking poll of approval for Donald Trump. He's at 50%, and I don't think it's a coincidence that yesterday Reuters came out and said Donald Trump's support amongst black men has literally doubled from 11% to 22% since the whole Kanye West thing started. If you're talking about 11% movement in 1 week, that is enough to tip some battleground states. It's 11% in one demographic, but the black vote is about, I don't know, 12% of the U.S. population. That's enough to make the difference in tight races. I know I'm a little bit late to the Utah teenager who wore the Asian dress to prom and started the whole cultural appropriation spat, but what's new in that story is how she's not bending the knee to political correctness, and we've got some other fun images to go along with it. And then finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about North Korea freeing all remaining American captives before the negotiation even starts. I mean, I haven't negotiated a lot of heavy things in my life, but I know that if you're making concessions before the negotiation even starts, if you're giving things up before you've even bargained, that's a pretty good success for Donald Trump, but I'll show you how at least one of the networks is covering it. And of course, I am going to engage with the chat. This is our fourth time trying this. We're ironing out the wrinkles a little bit. I'm remembering what it's like to be live and unscripted as opposed to my 8 p.m. show, which I write out and it's sort of in a format. And we decided that tomorrow, and hopefully if we keep doing this, every Friday we will have sort of free-for-all Fridays where all I will do is look at that rolling list. I got my laptop right here, those rolling comments. And as I said briefly yesterday, we try and take out the really obscene ones or the gratuitous swearing. But we believe in free speech here, even critical speech. And in fact, if there's some issues that bug people about the Rebel, there's some critics. There's some critics of the Rebel. I know it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe anyone could possibly criticize the Rebel for our point of view. I'd like to engage those because I may actually have an answer on things. And I mean, I don't waste time on my critics, but I don't ignore them completely either. Sometimes the criticisms are funny, and sometimes there's a little grain of truth under them. So tomorrow we're just going to dig in. The Super Chat function is you pay a couple of bucks and your comment is highlighted in a fluorescent color like a highlighter pen, and it's affixed there for a period of time commensurate with how much you chipped in. So yesterday someone paid $50 and their comment was up there for most of the segment. So that's the Super Chat. The one innovation we did yesterday is we're going to spread out my stories a bit. So I've got, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4 stories today. I'm not going to do them all at once. Why don't we start with the supermodel who was the First Lady until January of 2017. Supermodel in her own mind, but not just in her own mind. On the cover of every women's fashion mag in America, Michelle Obama graced their covers time and again, like a supermodel would do. I have no criticism or comments on whether or not she has supermodel looks. I'm just saying that she meets the actual definition of a supermodel. She is in high fashion photography shoots all the time on the cover of high fashion magazines. Isn't that the definition of a supermodel, regardless of her looks? And by that same definition, Melania Trump is not a supermodel, because can you name a single magazine cover that she has graced? Can you name a single designer who says, oh, I want Melania to wear my clothing? So if you use the mainstream media as your arbiter, indeed, Michelle Obama is, well, let me give you her phrase for what she is. Roll the clip.
Doubters, I know you have everything it takes to succeed. I know that you are me. And if I can be standing here as your forever First Lady, then you can do anything you put your mind to.
Forever First Lady. I don't think that's a thing. I don't think it's a thing to say you're a forever First Lady. I mean, yeah, I mean, forever you will have been a First Lady. But the whole point about First Lady and presidents, and if one day there is a first husband, and thank God it won't be Bill Clinton, it's not based on the person. It's based on the office. And the office is based on the American Constitution. And the reason why Michelle Obama was the First Lady is not because she's particularly awesome or a supermodel. It's because her husband won the Democratic mandate from Americans, and it was by grace of that office and that Constitution that she was the temporary custodian of that title, First Lady. There is no forever First Lady in America. There is no forever president. And I don't think that was a heavy statement by her. I mean, she was just saying, if I can do anything, you can do anything. And that's actually a great uplifting message. But, you know, I actually think there was sort of an entitlement mentality there. As you surely know, Obama didn't just have his family, his immediate family in the White House, his mother-in-law, they all moved in. Sort of like Justin Trudeau, in a way. That same sort of entitlement mentality, put the 2 nannies on the payroll, bring the whole family in. I mean, on their gala trips to Washington, D.C. when Obama was president, Trudeau not only brought his whole family, he brought his in-laws to the gala state dinner in Washington. Didn't bring the energy minister. He brought his party apparatchiks and his fundraisers and his family. That same sort of entitlement, aristocratic dripping we see in Obama and the Trudeaus. I think they really do think that they are a special class of human being, not just people who temporarily held a particular office. All right, I'm going to take a quick look at some comments here. Primpal08 says, both the Obamas saw themselves as celebrities. It's called narcissism. Well, as with my analogy about Michelle Obama meeting the dictionary definition of a supermodel, they were celebrities. Now, first of all, any president is going to be a celebrity in our age. They are the most photographed person in the country, really. Donald Trump was an enormous celebrity before he became president, and he is using that celebrity even more than Obama. I think the difference is that Trump was a celebrity before he took office. He was friends with all the cool people, either because he was interesting, you must admit he's an interesting man, or did cool things, you must admit he did, or he was a billionaire and people thought, well, maybe I can get a paycheck from him, maybe I can get a gig on his shows. I mean, maybe I can get comped some hotel nights at his casino or something. So everyone loved to hang out with Donald Trump. He was a media celebrity. He was on Oprah all the time. Until he became a Republican and until he became president. Then he was de-celebritified, at least by the fancy people. Obama was the opposite. Obama was extremely low profile before he got into politics. In fact, there's very few records of his life before politics. There really aren't a lot of people in college who even recall him. And he only became a celebrity by virtue of being a left-wing president. And I mean, I suppose that's fine. But there's no forever first ladies. I'm going to take one more comment, and then I'm going to go to the next story. Didn't Obama declare that he held the office of president-elect? I don't think so. I mean, he might have said that during the period he was president-elect, unless I'm missing something. Rappers love Trump. Kanye was correct. Well, that's true. I mean, because Trump symbolized the kind of braggadocio that is essential to rap, and the ostentatious earning and spending of money that is also part of the rap culture. And I think that is probably more legitimately a part of rap and rap culture than voting Democrat. I can't think of a less cool person by rap terms than Grandma Hillary Clinton. I mean, she's just the least hip-hop human being. I mean, if she was, she's just pretty square, don't you think? There's a lot of comments coming on there, but I am gonna move on to the next subject because it's already 12:10 and I'm just getting warmed up. You know how it is. I was talking about some polls, and let's go to the Reuters poll. On April 22nd, I don't know if you make that out there. This is an answer to the question, hold this up on the screen for a bit. Overall, do you approve or disapprove about the way Donald Trump is handling his job as president? So that's sort of the boilerplate approve or disapprove question. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see the bottom there, those little blue tabs. It's black male, so you can get into the details. So Trump's at about 50% general approval, but you can break that down by gender. You can break that down by race, which I think is very interesting. So 10 days ago, Trump was at 87% disapproval and 11% approval. And that's no surprise. African Americans are overwhelmingly Democrat, more than any other demographic, more than Hispanics, more than Jews, more than Catholics in general. So that was April 22. And then put up the next one. Here we have April 29. Look at that. Disapprove has plunged to 71. Approve has doubled to 22. And what's that other one there? A bit of both or mixed feelings or whatever. 7.1%. So those are people who are thinking about it. So in the course of 7 days, from April 22 to April 29, the number of black men who say, yeah, I like what Trump is doing, has doubled. And if those pregnant yellow bar people make the move over, imagine if that would be 29.1%, am I right? Imagine if 30% of black men said, yeah, I'm for Trump. And I think this is the result of two things. I think, first of all, it's the obvious result of Trump engaging with one of America's most prominent black men, Kanye West. I mean, I've got my issues with Kanye West, I mean, as I do with most celebrities of any color or background. But there's an engagement there. It's not just Kanye West musing about Trump. It's Trump showing Kanye West some respect, retweeting him, saying, that's cool. They've obviously met before. We've all seen the footage of the meeting at Trump Tower. That was over a year ago. Who knows what conversations they've had in private since then. Others in the Trump family, including Donald Trump Jr., interacting via Twitter. So I think the very fact that Donald Trump is giving time and attention and interest and respect to a leading black celebrity, businessman, artist, pop philosopher, I think black men are saying, hey, I approve of that. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily saying I'm a Republican. If you look at the question that was in the poll, it's do you approve the way he's handling the job? So you don't even have to be a Republican to say, yeah, I approve. I like what's going on. I like what's going on. I like this banter. I like this honest conversation. I like this Candace Owens, the young black girl we have interviewed before who was really the breakthrough when Kanye West said, I like how Candace Owens thinks, and then the dam broke. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, well, Kanye West himself does have a following. And much of that following is surely as shallow as any other celebrity has, Katy Perry, Taylor Swift, whatever. But Kanye does style himself a thinker in some ways. If you follow his Twitter feed, some of it is just sort of Hallmark card style cliches or, you know, Tony Robbins style, you can do it. But he does try and wrestle with issues. And you can see in his Twitter feed that he occasionally follows conservative philosophers, from Thomas Sowell, the great black conservative, to Jordan Peterson. I see out of the corner of my eye the bright pastel colors of a super chat, so let me just take a glance. The Corker, Ezra, have you heard that Obama made side deals to the Iran nuclear deal? These deals were not made public to Congress or the U.S. people. Yes, yes. And in fact, I recall covering that. I think I was at the Sun News Network at the time. The idea that there were deals not even shown to the rest of the Senate was something. I'll come back to that a little bit later. But I mean, just close my point about Kanye West. He is talking about what it means to be a conservative. He tweeted the other day, I don't know if I'm a conservative. I don't call myself one, and people ought not to yet call me one. But the very fact that he is making it acceptable to brainstorm, to think, and we showed the clips yesterday of his visit to TMZ. I think Americans and the whole world enjoys learning along with someone who has a little drop of humility as they go. When Glenn Beck was at his finest, in my view, it was when he was learning a subject for the first time. His enthusiasm and natural curiosity was infectious, and you learned along with him. And because he was so conscious and honest about the fact that he was just a student, any mistakes he made along the way, you could forgive him because you could see that he was learning in real time. I think that's what Kanye is doing as well. I don't know if he's a conservative. Certainly there's skeptics even on the right. I see Tommy Lauren and Ben Shapiro are skeptical of Kanye West, and maybe they'll be proven right. But I don't think Kanye is holding himself out to be a great political philosopher. I think he's learning in real time as we're all watching, and that's what makes it so fascinating, and I think that's what makes it so authentic. And I think that is a reason why the number of black men who think Donald Trump's doing a good job has doubled. And let me tell you, if you have studied the 2016 exit poll results as closely as I have, and I'm sure a lot of you have, you can find them very easily online. I recommend you do that. You know already that Donald Trump got a lot more of the black vote and Hispanic vote than Mitt Romney did in 2012. So all the condemnation, oh, Trump, you're a racist, oh, Trump, you're... Well, first of all, everyone knows he's not a racist. That's baloney. But Trump already did much better than Republicans in the past did in terms of reaching out to minorities. And you know that Trump won so many of those breakthrough states by 1 or 2 points. I mean, the state of Pennsylvania, which for a generation has been Democrat, I don't know the stat offhand, but I think it was within 1%. I think the total vote count that took Pennsylvania from Democrat to Republican, I think it was like only 50,000 or 60,000 votes. There's a large African-American population in Pennsylvania. I mean, Philadelphia is almost half black. And if you had the number of black men in Philadelphia, I'm just picking one city, double their support for Donald Trump, what's that in a city like Philly? Is that going to be 20,000 more votes? Well, I just told you the state tipped Republican by 60,000, so you take 20,000 away from the Dems, you put 20,000 on the Republicans, you just locked in Pennsylvania. I see out of the corner of my eye a question from J Money C18. I would love to work for the Rebel. Are you guys hiring? Well, you know, thank you. The $5 you chipped in will assist us in covering our payroll. I think we have an email called careers@therebel.media. And you can send an email in there with more specifics about what kind of stuff you do. A lot of people like the Rebel, and I'm grateful that you do. We have certain things that we need. Sometimes we need technical things. We need a video editor or other technical positions that you might not think about when you're looking at the company from the outside. We're always looking for talent on the content side, but we have to be able to pay for it, and that's obviously really, really tough. But if you are interested, send us a note to careers@therebel.media. Okay, well, it's 12:20. I think we're right on track, right? We're keeping on track here. But yeah, Kanye, very interesting. Now, this prom dress thing, can we put up the prom dress pics? I'm sure you've seen this. A lovely young lady, I don't even know how to say her name. I think it's Kazia she's a teenager. She's in high school. And she put this on her Twitter and her Instagram. That's her prom dress and her prom date. And they look great. Like, what a great young couple. And they're doing a namaste, so they're just mixing it up. They got a Chinese dress, and they're doing the Indian namaste, and some guys are doing some rap signals, or is that a baseball signal? And they got a bit of everything going on there. But you know what? They are teenagers. They're teenagers having the time of their life at their prom. Kids, it's all downhill from there. But they're having some fun. And that very pretty gal put on that very pretty dress and tweeted a picture, because we are in the selfie culture. And Twitter itself, by which I mean the social media company itself, shamed her, because some loser, some unknown anonymous nobody who claims to be Asian said, "That's not a dress for your appropriation. My culture is not your goddamn progress." And I think it was said with a shout, because the nod is in all caps, so you know he really, really means it. Jeremy Lamb. And look at that, 177,000 likes. And the reason it got so many likes is not natural. I've been to Jeremy Lamb's little Twitter feed. He's a nobody, nothing, with a few hundred followers, if I recall. It's because Twitter, the social media company itself, boosted that, made that an official Twitter moment, shamed her as part of it. I don't know if you know this, but Twitter, they sort of select what they think are interesting moments of the day. And they thought targeting hatred against a teenage Twitter user, hang on, isn't that against their terms of service? Well, not if you're shaming a girl for wearing a Chinese dress, apparently. What's amazing about this is that this, I think she's 18, this 18-year-old gal who is not political, she's not a candidate, she's not a journalist, she showed more courage and pushback against the online media mob than 95% of celebrities and politicians. I mean, Shania Twain immediately caved in when she said, I like Donald Trump. Caved immediately. Some of the rappers who originally came up for Kanye West caved immediately. Journalists and politicians in Canada, I think of Andrew Scheer, cave immediately. This 18-year-old girl had over 100,000 people crapping on her and the mob being whipped up by Twitter itself, and she didn't blink. Let me show you a little clip from Fox and Friends. Take a look.
I feel that there's a difference between wearing something with a different intent, because I personally wore the dress because I really respect the culture, and I believed it was very beautiful, and I wanted to show my respect and love by wearing one of their clothes in admiration of them.
If you could do it all over again, would you wear this same dress?
Yes, I would definitely wear it again.
Good for her. Good for her. And by the way, that critic of hers, Mr. Lamb, I don't know where Mr. Lamb's family is from, but since he says that his culture is Asian, I presume it's from China or something. Isn't he culturally appropriating the English language? Isn't that part of the indigenous British culture? I mean, how come he gets to culturally appropriate English? And he probably signs his checks 2018, so he's culturally appropriating the Christian date. There's many dates. There's a Jewish calendar. There's a Chinese calendar. There's we know that from Chinese New Year. There's various different ways to signify time. Perhaps Mr. Lamb is now a Christian. If so, he appropriated that too, didn't he? Because the Chinese calendar is not 2018, and yet that was marked on his Twitter tweet. My point is, we all appropriate things all the time, from fashion to language to science. I mean, isn't that called learning? Isn't that called learning? And things are mixed and matched and traded. What an absurdity. And I'm just so proud of that young girl for not bending the knee. I am curious, though, why Twitter finds it fine to whip up a mob against a young gal. I think the real answer is she was obviously very pretty, and they were just trying to get some clicks. I think if the gal herself had not been so pretty, they wouldn't have cared. I think they just loved whipping up hatred against a pretty girl. But speaking of cultural appropriation, hey, can I remind you of something that was done in the name of all people kind? Take a look at this picture. I think we got it. Yeah, there we go. So why was this fine? And by the way, those weren't even bought in. Those weren't even Indian designers. Those were made in Canada. Just like Justin Trudeau brought his own Indian chef from Canada to India, because I guess the Indians don't know how to make Indian food well enough. Oh, she's even got the bindi spot going on there. Oh, I think he does too. I think he does too. Yeah. See, you have to understand. When Justin Trudeau does it, it's because he's being open-minded, progressive, and multicultural. But when an 18-year-old girl wears a pretty dress, it's because she's racist. That's the way it is. All right, I'm going to look at the comments for a minute. It's 12:25. I got to keep an eye on the clock because I got to tell you, if I don't, this would be a 2-hour thing every day, and I wouldn't get any other work done. David Lincoln, hello. I see your super chat, and it's very nice of you, but I do not see an attendant comment. I'm going to read a couple more comments before I move on to Donald Trump, a very, very important news about Donald Trump that I've learned from the Washington Post that I absolutely have to bring to your attention. I'm going to do that in a moment. Okay, I'm reading some comments here. Amen 123, Israel is the root of all evil in this world. Israel did 9/11. That's just sort of stupid, I think. I'm not going to censor that. I just think it's stupid. That is Jeremy Lamb, another social justice warrior, misery loves company. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know that. I mean, he was looking for something to get upset about. If that is the most upsetting thing to you as an Asian American, if that is the most irritating, oppressive thing in your life, you're living the dream, buddy. I mean, if that's all you got to complain about, that a pretty girl likes your culture so much she wants to dress up in your culture's clothing, you have nothing to complain about. And of course, these people love to complain. I'm just reading some more. Oh, I do see David's comment right now. How many of those angry with Keziah are in favor of women wearing hijabs? Well, that is a very good question, David, because, of course, that's not just cultural appropriation, that's respect. If it's coming from a Muslim putting on a headscarf, or even better, a face obliterating niqab, is respect. But if it was, let's say, a Catholic priest and a nun's habit, well, that would just be the patriarchy. Don't you understand? I'm going to read a couple more comments. Ezra, this is from Jay. Ezra, you've done good work to keep the online conservative movement on its toes. You've at least got a footnote in history. Thank you very much. Footnote in history. Check that off the bucket list. I'm going to scroll. NJ Grant says, Justin Trudeau, cringe channel, you should work with Ezra. Okay, I don't know what that means. So what says, it was totally dumb and gay, like all this brother crap. Okay, I don't know what you mean. Dreamcatcher C says, from Philly, it's over 50% black. Yeah, that's my point, is that if Donald Trump has a breakthrough with young black men, you're going to see cities like Philly, and again, I don't think he's ever going to win Philly itself, but of course in the United States system, they have an electoral college, so it's votes counted in the whole state. And in a state, and Wisconsin too, by the way, where you have Milwaukee, a fairly black city, and the rest of Wisconsin, which is less black, it tipped to the wards for the Republicans under Trump because of the places outside Milwaukee. But you pull 50,000 more votes out of Milwaukee, and yeah, Trump's got that. If I was a Democrat, I would be panicked, which is why the Democrats are panicked, which is why you see the Democrats on late night TV just scorching Kanye West. Parking Lot Batman says, it's Suzanne here. I want to talk about Jews. What's with all the Jews talk? I mean, I'm Jewish. I don't think it animates most of what we talk about here at The Rebel. I'm trying to think of our on-air contributors, and I don't even think we have another Jewish on-air contributor. I might be missing someone. Yeah, we're pro-Israel. We're also pro-Taiwan, and I'm not Taiwanese. We are pro-America, and I'm not American. We're pro-Christian, and I'm not Christian. In fact, if you don't know yet, we made a movie about the persecution of Christians in Iraq called SaveTheChristians.com. So I'm not going to censor those comments, but I think they're sort of stupid. All right, I want to move to the last news story, and it's 12:29, so we'll take about 5 minutes here, and then we'll finish up by going to the comments. It's been an amazing week in America. I mean, unemployment obviously the lowest ever. The exports are up very high. Apple is meeting with the president, talking about repatriating $250 billion. They're going to pay that out to shareholders, share buybacks. I mean, it's just amazing, amazing news everywhere. But perhaps the most striking news was in North Korea, where in a confidential and secret mission, Mike Pompeo went to actually meet with Kim Jong-un. And what do you know? Normally meetings with Kim Jong-un are give and take. The West gives and he takes. This, so far, it's the opposite. And I'm struck by the fact that Kim Jong-un crossed the border at Panmunjom into the south and was met by the president of South Korea. Yes, that's symbolic, but that's all it is, symbolic. Yes, they signed a statement of denuclearization. Okay, that's nice, but that's worth precisely nothing until it happens. And what's interesting to me is the moment of truth on that is not 5-10 years in the future. It's scheduled for next month. But to me, the most tangible proof that this meeting with North Korea is real is that North Korea has, before the meeting with Trump, before Trump flies there to the meeting, agreed to release all American captives, something that Barack Obama tried in vain to do. And I'm not just blaming Obama. You think George W. Bush was any better? You think Bill Clinton was any better? Clinton was worse. Clinton gave North Korea everything they wanted, sent Madeleine Albright to normalize the regime, got nothing in return. So the fact that North Korea is making tangible, real, provable, yes-no testing concessions before the meeting even starts is incredible. Now, Donald Trump has formally been nominated by a group of people to be a recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. I say again, that Nobel Peace Prize is not worth much. It's decided. I mean, the Nobel Prize in chemistry is decided by experts in chemistry. The Nobel Prize in economics is decided by PhDs in economics. The Nobel Prize for Peace is decided by a small committee of members of parliament of the Norwegian parliament. That would be like 5 MPs in Canada from the ruling party, Liberals, or 5 Democrats in the US Congress getting together over beers and saying, well, who do we like? It's completely political. There are no objective standards as there are in chemistry or physics. And that's why it's so left-wing. That's why they gave it to Barack Obama literally the moment after he was sworn in as president. That's why they give it to left-wing people just to spite America. So I do not believe Donald Trump will get the Nobel Peace Prize. I do not believe the Nobel Peace Prize is worth much. I do believe what Donald Trump seems to be doing is quite important. And that is all a preamble for telling you what America's leading Washington-oriented, politics-oriented newspaper thinks is most important. I'm talking about the Bezos Washington Post, the Amazon Washington Post. And let me just show you this. Literally, as America is getting the captives free. Let me read this. Let me read this to you. President Trump either weighs 239 pounds or he doesn't. I have to read this with my dramatic voice. Okay, let me try again. I'm going to read it like it's a movie trailer. President Trump either weighs 239 pounds or he doesn't. The latest Trump world controversy, this time a medical mystery shrouded in secrecy. Lenny M. Bernstein and I report. This is a story too big for any one of us. Hey, let me read just the bottom part there. And then there's a picture of that Trump doctor. He's got the best staff. I don't know if you saw the picture of his old lawyer, Ty Cobb, and his doctor here. These guys are great. Political stress test. Trump's medical history becomes another divisive something. His former longtime doctor says Trump dictated a glowing letter attesting to his astonishingly excellent health during the 2016 campaign. Guys, I think we finally got it. Guys, I think we finally found a way to stop Trump. First we said the vote was rigged. Then we said the vote was hacked. That didn't really make any sense as in terms of English words and language, but we said it anyways. Then we asked for a recount. Then we had riots. Then we said Russia, Russia, Russia. Then we had this collusion thing. Then we had the... Guys, hey guys, are you still listening? Guys, I think we found it. Guys, I think, and there's 2 of us reporters on this, Donald Trump weighs more than 239 pounds. He said he weighs 239 pounds. We got his doctor to say he weighs 242 pounds. Guys, that is the big story in the Washington Post with not 1, but 2 investigative reporters on it the day that Donald Trump brings the captives home from North Korea. The Washington Post has more important things to tell you. That's why I use the phrase the media party, because if that were the talking point of the day from the Democrats, we'd all say, you're lame. But that's the talking point of the media party, and so who's watching the Watchmen? Who's reporting on the reporters? When the Washington Post says that's the news of the day, you have to take that as the news of the day because they are the news media. All right, so go to some of your thoughts on this huge breaking. Hold the front page. Donald Trump is now 244 pounds. He just had a really big sandwich. Let's take some Fatgate. 242 lies. Yeah, I'm looking at your comments here. We got the hashtag lies. Trump 2020. Yeah, that's his weight, mister, in decigrams or something. Trump 242. Yeah, impeach 242. Fatgate. I'm just glad no one did a story with 2 investigative reporters on Michelle Obama's weight, because that First Lady forever would have crushed them. I'll give her this. She's got pipes. You ever see Michelle Obama's arms? That girl would, you don't want to write about her. I'm just comparing. I'm just comparing the media treatment of the weight of Republicans versus Democrats and what's news and what's not. The Black Box says Ashley Parker is confirming her life's work by pushing this story. Yeah, I think you're right. High Tech Red says if they offer the Nobel Peace Prize to Mr. Trump, I bet he would turn it down because he knows what it really stands for. He might. And he might go to some other event that sort of proves a point on that exact same day. Just like he had a rally with blue-collar workers in Michigan the night of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And he loves those contrasts. I don't think Donald Trump would be the type to fly to Norway, and because if Donald Trump were to value the Nobel Prize, from Trump's point of view, that would mean that Trump thought it was above him and it would raise him up. Whereas I'm sure that Donald Trump looks down on the committee of leftist MPs in the Norwegian parliament. And the idea that Donald Trump would fly for that honor, which really is giving them an honor, that he would accept it, rather than meet with an ally, rather than travel somewhere that's in his own interest. I think you're right. I do not think that Donald Trump would accept it, because I don't even think he would trust what they would read or say or do. And I don't think Donald Trump would put himself in that position. Let me read some more. Imagine the media going on about Hillary's weight. Oh, good one. Good. See, that's the thing. Is Donald Trump unhealthy if he's 240 pounds instead of 239 pounds? Well, speaking as one guy in that zone to another, yeah, he could probably lose 20 pounds. Absolutely. Yeah, you're so right. But who was it? Hey, guys, can we call up the clip of Hillary Clinton stumbling to get in that van? Can you find that while we're going here? Is Donald Trump unhealthy because he's 242 pounds instead of 239? Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Absolutely he is. Yeah, you bet. Is he so unhealthy that he literally falls over and has to be grabbed and thrown into a van while Secret Service try and block the shot? Or I don't know if you saw the picture of her in India the other day when she was coming down the steps and had to be held once on each arm. And she slipped twice. And yeah, I mean, I get it. Steps can be slippery. But she was being carried down almost like Weekend at Bernie's. And so many of Hillary's health problems were called a conspiracy theory. I mean, Paul Joseph Watson. Oh, hey, I just hear we have the clip. Hey, throw it up in B-roll. I'll talk over it. Look at that. So we just grabbed this off I don't know where we grabbed this, but look at that. Hillary Clinton, she's leaning up against the pole. Do you see it? She's leaning up against the ballard. She's wobbling. She's wobbling. Do you see that? She has to be grabbed and thrown. And there's a Secret Service agent doing a good job blocking the shot. I don't know whose words these are. Her campaign, she overheated. But look at that. Okay, look at the close-up. And by the way, They lifted her and threw her, and one of her shoes fell off, and they didn't retrieve her. They were in such a hurt. Look, oh my God! They're throwing her into the van. That was from the Telegraph, obviously. Blackout on that story and the real truth behind it. She lied to reporters. She said she had a cold. She had a cold. Hey guys, have you ever had a cold that made it so you had to be picked up and thrown into the back of a van? I did a longer video on this in late 2016. It's available on our YouTube. You know, WikiLeaks and some of these other leaked documents and access to information requests, by the way, by Judicial Watch and others. So there's a lot of internal documents about Hillary Clinton that you can find, and some of them are searchable. I went to a Hillary Clinton document site, I can't remember which one right now, and I typed in Hillary, sleep, and nap. And it's amazing, her health. She would sleep all the time. She would have naps in the middle of the day. Huma would send memos to other staff, don't interrupt her nap. She needs her nap at like 3 p.m. I mean, I get it, 3 p.m., your sugar's coming down. It's what afternoon tea was invented for, give you a little sugar and caffeine. I don't know, you want a Pepsi or something to perk up? Or maybe get some fresh air, do a little exercise, whatever, I don't know. I mean, we all get a little bit down in the afternoon when we're digesting our lunch. She would have full-out naps every day. She had a full-out bed on her plane. I think normally the bed is just for the president and Air Force One. And the thing is, at first, her staff, and you got to go back and find my video on this because I don't have the document in front of me. I won't be able to get it quick in real time. Her staff would spin this. I swear to God, they called her a champion napper. And they were boasting about how great she is at having naps. Let me check the time, 12:41, we're okay. You don't boast about how great you are at napping, because that's like saying you're boasting at not doing things. Can you stay up for 30 hours? During the Falklands crisis, I know that Margaret Thatcher slept 4 hours a night. She was so engaged with the crisis. She was sending the Navy to war. She had this, there was diplomacy, there was strategy, there was military, there was politics. She was sleeping 4 hours a night, and she was trying to keep her wits up. I mean, that's a leader in a type of crisis. Imagine bragging about being a champion napper and how many hours she would sleep. I swear to God, her staff were doing that, and she requested from her chief of staff information about drugs, even experimental style drugs, to stay awake. I don't know, narcolepsy, I don't know what the word is for that. That gal is sick. Sick as in ill. But it's the front page story, 2 reporters in the Washington Post, because Trump's got a little bit of, he's a little fat. Hey guys, Trump's a little fat. All right, let's go look for some more comments. By the way, let me just remind you what we're doing here. Every day, every weekday between 12 noon Eastern and 1 p.m., I sit down here in front of the mic. What do you think of the fancy mic? The first day it wasn't plugged in, so I had a lapel mic. This is plugged in now. That's fancy. And I just have a few clips, and I try and read, but there's hundreds of comments here. There's just no way I'm going to be able to read them all. But if you want to make your comment stand out, you can chip in $2 or whatever. And it's called Super Chat, and it's pinned to the top there, and I will do my best to read all the Super Chats because it's supporting us financially. That's how we roll here at the Rebel. We don't get government money like the CBC or TVO or Maclean's, which gets $1.5 million, or the Walrus, which has charitable status and has liberals on their boards. We're not on the gravy train like that, and unlike our friends at Post Media, we're not begging for a bailout from Trudeau, which is exactly why we are not in their pocket. So we do the Super Chat, and if you can't join us at this hour, I know this is an hour when a lot of people are actually working, so they can't join live. That's fine. You can watch it later. It's permanently on YouTube. Obviously, the chat functions are not working after the fact. I see in the Super Chat, Screw Off says, I love how Comey claimed she was very lawful. Lies. Well, yes. I mean, we'll have to talk about James Comey. I want more video clips or facts at my fingertips so I'm more precise when we talk about James Comey. He's a little bit emo. You know what I mean? I mean, reading his Twitter feed and looking at his comments reminds me of a very passionate, idealistic, hormonal teenager. Guy or girl, I'm not sure which, just emo. and his autobiography. Maybe I can find it here quickly. I'm not going to try because it would take me a minute to find it. But those excerpts from his book where he talks about what a good man he is and how Obama said, "You're a good man." And he really, really talked about his self-praise and the praise of others. And this is really weird how emotional he is. I know that's got nothing to do with his approach to law making and law breaking, but he's a bit weird. He's a bit weird. And it is weird. And his role during the election, and I think he ought to have been fired. And Rod Rosenstein himself, a bit of an Obama, I recommended he be fired, and I think that was right. It would not surprise me if James Comey was in fact prosecuted because he has admitted that he leaked FBI information that was against the law to do so. And the rule of law should apply to the police even more strictly than to ordinary people because you are in a position of public trust and public power, and those who enforce the law ought to be the most it would be like a cop speeding or a cop jaywalking. Even if it's not that indictable an offense, you're setting an example. And when the head of the FBI leaks for political purposes, that's a bad example. I see out of the corner of my eye another super chat. Tinker Diego, with a Mexican support, says, longtime rebel supporter, but occasionally, yikes, lots of internet coverage over the use of Humboldt as a promo code. I had to regretfully agree. Seemed rather tone-deaf comment. Thank you very much. See, this is what I mean. This is a great question. It's a critical question, but it's a good question. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I did a monologue about a month ago about this disgraceful Marxist leftist named Nora Loretto, who, when she saw the GoFundMe fundraising campaign for the Humboldt Broncos victims and their families, it was very successful, both for the family of the grieving dead, the grieving family of the dead, and those who were in hospital. Nora Loretto remarked, "Oh, just a bunch of white males," and she made it a racist thing. And I did a scorching rant on it, and I emailed that out to all our people, and I said, we're on the other side. The CBC is romanticizing Nora Loretto. All the media are siding with her because they actually agree. We're on the other side. Sign up to the Rebel. We're the only people who are going to tell you the other side. And I agree with every single word I wrote in that email. But I did, when we have a coupon code, we said, we'll sign up. And I just thought, well, what's the word that sums us up? And I thought, Nora. And I thought, no, I'm not going to use her dirty name as the coupon code. I thought, well, what word can we use for the coupon code? Nora, Laredo. I thought Broncos, because that was it was about. And in retrospect, I would have chosen a different word for the coupon code than Broncos. But other than that, every single word in my monologue and every single word in the email I stand by. And if you look at them again, I think you'll agree we're spot on. But yeah, the coupon code, which I sort of added later, I like to come up with a simple word that sums up the whole thing. And Broncos was what came to mind, but I should have chosen like respect or media or some other word like that. But great question. I can't, Daniel Grant, I can't stand Noretto, oh my God, or Nora, don't get me started on her unhumane creature. Well, it's funny, she loved that whole wrestling around, mucking around in the mud. I saw a CBC panel, four people on the CBC, all on her side. What was super weird was the day of the van attack in North Toronto when Alec Manassian took a van and rammed 10 people or killed 10 people and injured more. Nora Loretto went back for a second helping. I don't know if we can dig that up, you guys, quickly, but Nora Loretto said, oh, traffic accidents are so banal, or something like that. Like, she just is such a ghoulish, macabre, snuff film. Like, where's the soul in that woman? Like, as in her whole attack on the Saskatoon, the Humboldt Broncos, was not an accident. Or if it was an accident, she rechristened it as her greatest moment because it got her more attention than any. And it got her gigs, by the way. I saw the National Observer hired her to write. So it's getting her paid. And she actually went back for a second helping. And there it is right there. Pedestrian injuries in Toronto. So agonizingly mundane. Keep that up there. Just keep that up there. The same Nora Loretto who mocked the race and sex of the Humboldt Broncos. By the way, a woman was a victim there too, who's part of the team, not a player, but part of the team. And some of the players were Aboriginal, as is often the case in the prairies, where Aboriginal folks love hockey as much as anyone. So she's a gross racist huckster. She came back for a second. Look at pedestrian injuries in Toronto. So agonizingly mundane. She literally tweeted this when that attack happened. She has no soul. She has no soul. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. It's 12:50. Let's see if we can get in a couple more comments. Trudeau Cringe Channel says, wow, that lady is sick in the head. I hope she goes to hell. Well, maybe she already did, and maybe she's come back, because it's a very devilish thing to say. And by devilish, I don't mean that in like a cheeky, oh, she's so devilishly clever. No, I mean as in diabolical. That's what I mean. Parking Lot Batman said, leftist with a soul. What? Yeah, you can be a leftist with a soul. You can be a liberal, motivated by good things. I don't think she is. I think she's super gross. NJ Grant says, go on BitChute and find Freedom Report. Kevin J. Johnson has to say about Andrew Scheer. We've had Kevin J. Johnson on our show before. He has been charged with hate crimes for criticizing radical Islam or Muslim politicians. I forget the exact details. I don't follow Kevin J. Johnson closely. I did see him, I bumped into him on the street, actually in Calgary, where he seems to be based these days. But I think it's outrageous that he is being prosecuted literally with a criminal offense, prosecuted with a crime for having a political point of view. You can disagree with him. You can even call him dead wrong. But how can Kevin J. Johnson be facing criminal prosecution and Nora Loretto be the star on the CBC state broadcaster? By the way, I don't want Nora Loretto to be prosecuted in case there's any doubt. I'm just pointing out how we use censorship laws very politically in this country. Let's grab some more comments. Pepper52435 says, why doesn't the conservative media talk about QAnon? Well, I've just really heard about QAnon in the last week or so, and I heard about it from Roseanne Barr, because she's not scared of talking about anything. So I've followed it a bit, and it really is, it feels like a game, like a fun game, like clues and tips and stuff. And I think if you treat it that way, I think you're okay. But I think if you start investing it with any real power of this secret conspiracy, I think that's the wrong way to go. And here's my thoughts on conspiracy theories. The world is crazy enough without conspiracy theories. You don't need conspiracy theories to be appalled, outraged, and motivated to act. And what I mean by that is, a conspiracy theory is a theory. It alleges facts that we don't yet know. That's why it's just called a theory. Conspiracy facts are different. There are conspiracies. A conspiracy is people conspiring together, usually in secret, to do something malign. Obviously, conspiracies exist. For some reason, the gunpowder plot just jumped into my head. That's a conspiracy. 9/11 was a conspiracy. There are enough real conspiracies, conspiracies of Al-Qaeda, just to be crystal clear on that. There are enough conspiracies out there, and there's enough conspiracies out there in the open that we don't have to make up fake ones. I see some comments about Soros. I just saw the word Soros flash by. Let me give you an example of a conspiracy fact about George Soros. You do not need to engage in conspiracy theories about Soros, because what he brazenly, openly, and proudly admits to doing is surely as shocking as anything cooked up by a conspiracy theorist. For example, and you can find this quite quickly online, George Soros and his front group called the Open Societies have signed a written contract with Justin Trudeau and the Government of Canada to develop immigration policy for Canada. I know that sounds absurd and bizarre, that a foreign lobbyist, billionaire, activist in New York City would write the immigration policy for Canada, an independent country, but that's what he's doing. And this is not a conspiracy theory. This is published on the Government of Canada's own documents, their own website, their own gazette. Justin Trudeau meets with George Soros not infrequently, and he boasts by publishing the photos thereof. So you don't need a conspiracy theory. And when you read what the George Soros and his lobby group believes ought to be the future of open borders, mass migration, especially Muslim migration, and you know that he has the contract to write Canadian immigration policy, and again, that's not a theory, it's a fact, why would you bother coming up with a theory? I mean, I understand when you're looking at the American situation, especially the deep state, and as we were talking about people like Comey and Clapper and a lot of the intrigues around the Democrats trying to really have a bloodless coup against Donald Trump. Yeah, conspiracies are filling in the gaps because we see such bad behavior on the part of the FBI and other agencies. And hopefully in time, the facts will be aired out on those things so we can replace conspiracy theories with true facts. And I think you will, in fact, find that there were conspirators. I mean, Jim Comey, the meeting between the Attorney General today, I think her name was Loretta Lynch, and Bill Clinton, when Hillary Clinton was under investigation for the emails. That's not a conspiracy theory. That really happened, and they really did try and keep that secret. As you know, they both flew into an airport, and they had a no cameras meeting. That's a crazy conspiring. That's a conspiracy. We don't yet have all the facts on that. You don't need to make things up, and I think QAnon is just a fun, it feels like an Easter egg hunt. So I'm not going to put too much stock in it. Okay, let's go back to the comments. El Chapacabra says, another meeting with the Khans. I think you're talking about Justin Trudeau meeting with the Aga Khan. You're right, and there's a brazenness to that. Of course, the Aga Khan, I'm an admirer of the Ismaili Muslim community that he leads. They are very moderate, progressive, pro-Western, liberal. They believe in the equality of men and women. They're nonviolent. In fact, they're persecuted by other Muslims who don't even acknowledge that they're genuine Muslims. I'm talking about the Ismailis. And the Aga Khan himself is very liberal and very generous. If every Muslim in the world was as liberal, generous, progressive, Western-oriented as the Ismailis, this world would be a happy, peaceful, prosperous place. Alas, they are not even regarded as true Muslims by most of the Muslim community. They're like the Ahmadiyas that way, another persecuted minority. So I like the Aga Khan. I should put that out there. And I like Ismailis. I had a hand in the election of Raheem Jaffer. I was a helper in his original campaign. But Justin Trudeau sucked up to the Aga Khan to get free vacations for his family. And his grasping wife, Sophie, kept calling for more vacations for her and her friends without Justin Trudeau to go along. If you read the Trudeau report, which is what the Ethics Commissioner's report is called, you'll see that Trudeau didn't just go there with his family and friends. His grasping wife, Sophie, called up later and said, hey, man, can I come back with my friends? Yeah, Justin won't be along. I just want to bring my friends. And can you imagine, you're the Aga Khan, and I think his daughter took the email or the call, and she said, well, we're not going to be there. And Sophie Trudeau said, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we just want to party on Billionaires Island. Could you imagine, after Trudeau was found guilty, he was convicted of breaking that conflict of ethics law 4 times. He's the first prime minister in Canadian history found guilty of breaking that law 4 times, and yet he goes for a photo op with the same man later on. What is that? That shows an entitlement, but it shows a brazenness that he knows he's going to get away with it. Because what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? You think the CBC is going to get all mad at the guy who signs their check? You think the rest of the media party that's looking to bag a few handouts, you think they're going to get mad? You think he's going to be held to account in any way? Of course not. I mean, we had a months-long criminal trial of Mike Duffy over some expenses that, by the way, were paid back. Months and months. He was acquitted. You think you're going to get a criminal trial of Justin Trudeau? He laughs. He laughs at you. He laughs at all of us. That's what his meeting with the Aga Khan this past week was about. It was about showing that he doesn't give a damn about any ethics commissioner. He doesn't give a damn about you, and he doesn't give a damn about what little bad press he gets, because he'll keep doing what he does. And what are you actually going to do about it? Folks, my clock says it's 12:58. I'm going to take one more comment, make a quick reply, and then we're going to go. CCN Cross Canada News says liberals have no soul. The road to hell is littered with the bodies of dead liberals. Suzanne F. says, wait, we have policy analysis for policy or something. A little bit of swearing. You know, we try and keep the swearing down here. Then there's some Star Wars talk. I'm just going to skip that. Okay, you know what? I'm going to skip those comments. There's so many comments, and I want to read them out loud as I'm reading them, and some of them I don't know how to interact with. Thanks for joining again today. Tomorrow, as we said yesterday, it's going to be nothing but comments, and I appreciated the comment about the coupon code for Broncos, and that's a great question. And ask your questions about the Rebel. I mean, I love the Rebel. I founded it with 8 friends when the Sun News Network shut down. We've grown it since then. We've had our ups and downs, but I think we've made a real difference. We've had hundreds of millions of views of our videos, not just on YouTube, but on other platforms too, like Twitter, Facebook, and we now have our own proprietary server called Zype. We have covered stories that others have not. We have had real live events like our carbon tax protest that I think got the ball rolling. I'm proud of what we did, and I'm happy to turn this into a bit of a town hall forum on the Rebel itself. I don't want to just be navel-gazing and just talk about me, but if you have questions about the Rebel, I think I'm probably the guy to answer them. So that's tomorrow from 12 noon Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll just do comments, and if you want your comment to go to the top. I think there's one last super chat. Let me take a peek. Allie Clark says, great show. Thanks. Well, thank you, Allie, and thanks for the $5 goes to pay the bills over here. I'm going to wrap it up because my clock says 1 o'clock on the dot. Everybody, thanks for tuning in to Battleground with Ezra Levant. Until tomorrow, keep fighting for freedom.